Welcome to the HR Happy Hour Work Break. You are here with Trish and Steve. Hey, Steve Bose.
Hey, Trish McFarland. Good to see you. I feel like we just spent an hour together like 10 minutes ago.
We did. We were just doing our Schrdingers webinar, so it went great. I loved it. That was so fun.
Right, we're all dressed up. Well, you are. I'm semi-dressed up.
That's right. I'm wearing a dress. I actually have a dress on because, normally we would be at HR Tech around this time. This time last year we were. It was the first day, like the pre-day, the pre-meeting day. So anyway, it's fun to get dressed up a little bit and do the hair. I think people probably don't understand. Like, it's like some days I literally roll out of bed and we do this show, and then some days I'm actually fixed up. So anyway, listen. Hey, can I mention one thing? Actually,
go ahead.
What?
No, mention your thing. Then I have a thing that I've been trying to mention for 3 days. But go ahead, mention your thing. Go ahead.
I was going to say it has to do with Schrdingers. So Steve Knox, their head of talent acquisition, was also on the webinar with us. And right before we were talking about the work break yesterday, when you were talking about reading the encyclopedia. So I wanted to shout out to Steve. He recommended a book called Know It All by A.J. Jacobs. And I looked this up. It was one man's humble quest to become the smartest person in the world. So I feel like, number one, you need to read that book. And two, I feel like we need to have a guest.
Okay, Trish, I'm going to admit something. You were breaking up just a bit, so I didn't quite catch the title of the book.
Know It All by A.J. Jacobs.
Okay, now that's better. I heard that. Know It All. Okay, I will look into that.
Know It All. So, all right, what do you got? What do you want to talk about?
I forgot. We missed this completely, Trish. I can't remember what day it was. I think it was at the end of last week, but we've done 100 of these. This is like about 105 now, or I can't remember.
Really?
That went by and we didn't even notice. So happy 100 and whatever shows. That's a little milestone.
Hey, and can I tell you something?
Sure.
Not only happy 100 plus shows, happy National Podcast Day, Steve Bose.
I had
Did
that.
You have that too?
Oh, yes, that was my number 2. Thank you. Happy Podcast Day as well. I must admit, I did not know this was a thing, and someone tweeted about it today and mentioned the Happy Hour show, which was nice of them. I had no idea it was a thing. So pick one, Trish. What's your other favorite podcast besides our show? Because our show's my favorite. But what's your other favorite show? Other favorite podcast? Pick one.
You know what? You
can pick one.
I am still This American Life. I just love it. Love it. Now, if Serial is on there, because that's only on every now and then. And but yeah, This American Life. I learn something every single episode. So yeah. I'm addicted. How about you? What do you listen to?
I'm a little shallow, Trish. I listen to a lot of sports podcasts. The NBA finals start tonight, so I'm really into NBA mode. I would probably say there's a podcast by an ESPN writer, Zach Lowe. It's called The Low Post. It's basically about the NBA. It's probably the one I'd pick. I listen to probably just about every show. He makes a real deep dive into the games, into the strategies. It's a really, really good podcast if you're an NBA fan. So that is probably the one I would pick.
I have to tell you, can I have 2 others real quick to mention that are newer, that are seeming pretty good. I wouldn't say they're my favorites, but anyway, but I like them. Tig Notaro, the comedian who I love, it's called Don't Ask Tig. It's questions. She has good guests too. Funny other comedians come on there, so that's a good one. And also Smartless. Have you heard of this one?
I have not.
It's with Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnett. Like, what's not to love about that? Smartless. So There you go. That's my podcast, and you can see I've got ours right on there.
Our front center, of course. That's in the number 1 spot.
Yeah. My last one is Ask Me Another on NPR. I like comedy.
I asked you for one favorite. You're doing a whole kind of routine now, I think, on the podcast.
I didn't plan it.
Yeah. So speaking of podcast day, we did the Chris Leone podcast that we talked about, we promoted yesterday, did run this morning. I stayed up late last night editing, so you're welcome. And sounded great. So that's out in the world today. So it's been a good, we contributed to the podcast world on International Podcast Day as well by putting more content out there in the world. So
very good. Yeah, it was a good conversation. Again, we talked to a lot of vendors, and there's something to like about each one. They're all very different, but yeah, the work that Oracle is doing is first rate right now. So please give a listen to that episode, and also to check out what Chris Leone and the entire team there is up to.
Yeah, good stuff. So I have one other random one, Trish, and this is I don't want to phrase this in the form of the question, but I'm just going to maybe make a statement here. I know you're a physics person because we've talked about it a couple of times on the show. We've talked about time travel. There was a new article that came out. Yeah, I don't have the reference right in front of me. I didn't write it down, but a scholarly journal kind of article, which basically has come out and said time travel is, it's definitely possible. And I think most kind of physicists kind of felt like it was anyway. But the interesting thing about this new paper, and I'll dig up the reference, is that they're also theorizing not only time travel is possible, but you can't actually kind of do like what we always think about with time travel. I'm going to go back in time and make sure something bad doesn't happen, or make sure the Titanic doesn't hit the iceberg. Like they're theorizing you can't actually do that. Like you can't actually you can't change the present by going back in time and intervening in time in the past. That's their theory. So I thought that was kind of interesting. A new wrinkle on the time travel story.
Because I'm guessing it's not linear. Like we think of time as something linear, and it's just not linear, right?
Yeah.
So things could be simultaneously occurring in other times. Isn't that more the theory?
I think the gist of it was that other things would happen differently than two, and the outcome will still be the same. That's their theory. Like, I don't quite get it. It's a little bit beyond my capacity to understand. I'm not as much of a physics fan as you, but I do have a favorite physicist, just if you were curious about that.
Okay. Who is that?
Schrodinger is my favorite.
And why is that?
Because Schrdingers Cat, do you know Schrdingers Cat? That famous physics kind of, it's not really an example, it's more of a concept, Schrodinger's Cat.
I know I've heard of it, I don't recall.
So they take a cat and there's a cat, and then they have this like a glass bottle with like radioactive like something or other, like radioactive material, like a glass bottle sealed up. And so they take the cat and the radioactive stuff and they put a box on top of both of them.
Okay.
Right? And so then Schrodinger asked the question, is the cat dead or alive?
Oh, I don't know.
The answer is both. It's both dead and alive at the same time, right? Because it's super cool. Like, I don't even know why it is, but that's the idea. That's the answer. The cat's dead and alive at the same time, because you can't really know. The real thing is you can't really know if the cat is dead until you lift up the box. But as soon as you lift up the box, it's a whole thing. But you can Google it. It's called Schrodinger's Cat. But I just love it for the fact that it's kind of a cool example. The cat is both dead and alive at the same time. So the answer is both, which is pretty awesome.
You. I'm going to look it up. Yeah.
Schrodinger's Cat. Yeah.
I'm going to give you also I was looking up as you were starting to talk about that. So we're talking about time travel. I watch Pluto TV. Do you watch Pluto TV at all? Do you watch that app?
I'm aware of it. Yes.
So when I got rid of cable a couple years ago, Pluto TV, Pluto TV, it's free. It sort of looks like a guide. Like it's got movie channels. But it has like every MTV show. Has a whole channel of nothing but Survivor, a whole channel of unsolved mysteries. I mean, it's kind of cool. Game shows, whatever. Sports, news, everything. But sometimes I watch movies, and there was this movie called The Time Machine. Have you ever seen that movie?
Is this the H.G. Wells, the classic one?
No, The Time Machine. It was from 2002. It's kind of like really cheesy, but it really, I'm not going to give anything away, but I would just say if it's free, it's on Pluto TV, The Time Machine, or wherever you can find it. A little bit cheesy, but it really talks about how traveling forward, backward might look really different than kind of what we had envisioned, which is kind of what you're talking about. So getting on the side, hitting the phone. So anyway, well, listen, we've talked technology, we've talked encyclopedias, we've talked time travel, physics. I feel like we can call it
podcast day. We got the rundown of your favorite podcasts.
We talked podcasts. Happy podcast day.
That's exciting. I might have a cupcake or something later.
All right. You go have a cupcake. Thanks, everyone, for dialing in and for all your messages and all your ideas. Keep them coming, and we will see you back here tomorrow. Have a good day, Steve.
Bye, everyone.